Great to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
I'm so happy to be on and have a discussion with your audience.
So let's begin our journey into your career and your work and mission by asking you about the pandemic. It was such a big thing for us. I know that people are getting tired of talking about it, but ultimately, how did you get through it and how has it changed the way that you do things now?
That is such a good question. And I think you're right. It feels like it was a long time ago, but we need to talk about it because to me, we need to assess how we did, how we reacted, debrief, and look as a society, what could we have done better? So I am located in Canada. I know you are in the US, so different, different ways to deal with it, but I'm a chiropractor by training and I still see patients. So I think how we dealt with it is focusing more inwards on our health. We so realized then that health, I mean, as cliche as that sentence, health is wealth. I think it really proved that. So it's funny because I had patients that got in shape, lost 30 pounds, and just took control of their health and were walking and so forth. And then I had the flip side of that, that some people just, just sat back, watched movie, didn't move, ate not so good food, and all of that stuff. So it was interesting to see how people reacted to it. And even for myself, I focused even more on my sleep than ever before. I realized I was sleeping, but I wasn't sleeping long enough and I wasn't paying too much attention. So I even focus more on my health and my routine and so forth. And ended up writing another book in the midst of all this because I'm like, hey, I have more time on my hands. So let's put the knowledge that I'm acquiring daily because I'm a big biohacker at heart. Biohacking is kind of finding more efficient ways to implement your health and wellness routine. So you don't have to be at the gym for 2 hours if you can do it in a shorter time. Same thing with food and supplementation. So I dealt with it just by digging deeper into how could I make myself healthy, my family healthy, and my community as well.
So let's get to there's a lot of things on paper that go into who you are and what you do for a living. But let's get to kind of the essence of it. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third grade students. It's career day. One of the kids is curious and says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" How do you answer them?
I've done those actually, and it can be hilarious what the kids will come up with when they ask you a question. Um, I think I would say third grade, so that's how old is that? 8, 9 years old. I would say that I'm a doctor that focuses on prevention and things that we can do for our health so we don't end up getting sick or minimizing the chances of getting sick. So I help people with, their habits, their supplementation, their sleep, their spine, their nervous system, how to handle the stress, talk about hormones. So I'm a doctor of what I like to say in my profession says too, a doctor of cause, to go to the source of the issue when people have issues, but also for us to not get there. So I know sometimes people are dealt a bad hand when it comes to genetics and so forth, but there's still a lot with epigenetics that we can do to, take control of our health. So I know it's definitely not a grade two conversation, but I think that's how I would explain it.
So let's go back to when you were in the third grade. What was your dream when you were in that position, sitting at career day? What did you want to be when you grew up?
Yeah, it's funny. My mom and my grandma were both teachers, so I kind of thought I would do that. But fast forward a little bit later in life, at the age of 14, I became anorexic. So I ended up being on a journey to heal myself and get better. And back in those days, we didn't have Google or, I'm from a small town, so not even local libraries to get information. So I think my quest for health and the health knowledge came from that. And then it's just I'm passionate about helping people just take control of their health and realize that it's not as hard as we make it to be. It is hard because we're bombarded by so much information. So I think that's kind of why I write book, to take complex information that, most people don't have time to buy, 20 books on a specific topic. And I think I've gotten quite good at simplifying information and saying, okay, here's the bigger bang for your time and your dollar here. Here's what gives us the best result. So I think my quest came from that. And again, just seeing patient day in and day out, I have a really good pulse on what people are struggling with. And going back to the pandemic, right? People working from home, not moving. I've really seen a decline in, this working from home deal is depriving us of social connection and so forth. So I mean, it's a complex situation.
So let's go back to your childhood. Where were you born and raised, and what were the foundational elements of you to get into healthcare, to help others, and to evolve into the career you have?
Yeah, so I'm from a small town in outside of Montreal called Montebello. Some people may know it from a big Fairmont resort there, which my father worked at most of his life. So small town, 1,000 people. I didn't even speak English. And then my went to the University of Ottawa in health sciences and discovered that I could learn English and discovered that we had a chiropractic school here in Canada in Toronto. Because my parents had brought me to the chiropractor since I was probably 12 or 13. Small town, no medical doctor. You had anything wrong with you, shoulder pain, whatever, you just went to the chiropractor. So to me, I thought, wow, this guy has a really cool job. I don't understand what he's doing. I don't even speak the same language, but everybody's going and they're feeling better. But I thought in my head, I can't do this. He went to school in the States and it's in English, and we don't have the finances to do that. So kind of put that back in the back of my head to think, well, that's not realistic. And then in university, finding out that there was a school in Toronto and my English wasn't great, but I'm like, okay, well, ignorance is a bliss. Let's go. And now I'm practicing at Ottawa, which is very bilingual, is nice because I can practice in both languages pretty much all day long, switching. So I have the best of both worlds with keeping my main language, but also exchanging with in other languages too.
So, who's been kind of an inspiration or a hero for you in your career?
Oh, that's such a good question. My goodness. That's such a good question. I would have to say Dr. Joe Mercola because he has had a newsletter and a website on health for the past, as long as I've been in practice, so at least 25 years. I know his views are sometimes controversial, but I always look back, when barely the information was online to him. And I know that he's changed his views on different things. And I really appreciate that about him, that he doesn't become dogmatic about a topic if new data comes in and we learn more, that he's not afraid of changing his views. So big inspiration from him for sure, and a lot of other people in the health space for sure, because it is so much easier to have access to information now. Big fan of Dr. Andrew Huberman podcast and Dr. Peter Attia as well, because they're bringing information to the forefront that people before may not have had access to, and they're doing it in a good conversation type of approach. So I think a lot of people are now paying attention to more podcaster, and it's a good way to consume information.
For sure. So, let me ask you this. You may have already answered it. If you could meet one person alive on the planet that you find fascinating that might help you in your career and spend some time with them, ask questions, who would that be?
Oh, that's such a good question. There would be so many. There would be so many. I think I would go back to probably political figures of the past just to see how they're thinking and so forth. And I probably would have a few business owners as well who have since passed, and just try to, have a conversation with them on how they did and why they did what they did, and taking big chances on whatever they took the chance on. So I don't think I have anyone in particular, but I think it would be political figure and also business owners.
So, who's what is your motivation every day to do this work that you do? You have to give a lot of yourself to help people heal and get to a better place. But you are a human yourself that has to evolve. What is
Mhm.
that collective energy every day for you to get all of that done?
Yeah. Very good question. So I do what I preach. So my health and wellness routine is very serious to me. I'm not a fanatic, meaning if I travel or if I have a late dinner date with friends or something like that, I'm flexible. But my health and wellness routine is very important to me. So I need to make sure that I'm the best person. And then I think again, because I help people and I can see results pretty fast. You know, you have someone walking in the office and they say they've had a headache and they felt brain fog all day and they walk out of your office and they're like, wow, I feel so much better. So as a hands-on chiropractor, I see amazing things like pretty darn fast. So that is so, so rewarding. On the lifestyle approach to it. It's with the books, it's with the newsletter. We just sent a blog this morning on the future of food, right? I'm all about critical thinking. So I get jived, I get excited when I call it punching holes in people's belief system. Just not that I'm trying to impose my view. I think everyone should have their own way of analyzing things and have their own critical thinking. But I just love bringing new stuff to the forefront on people for people, and I just love to give them information and then let them go dig deeper, think about it, you know, analyze it. How does it what does it mean to you who's reading my book, who's listening to my podcast? So it's always taking some information, applying critical thinking, and then always asking yourself, what does it mean to me?
So, as an author, what was the book for you growing up that you loved the most that was foundational?
Oh, they would be some French names you probably wouldn't know, but I was Agatha Christie would be one, the murder and mystery kind of thing. And then as I got to high school and university, it's health books, health books, health books, health books. Like I toss in a murder mystery here and there, but
There you
I
go.
just still love learning about new things and new technologies and just deepening my knowledge, really.
So, as a podcaster, and obviously us doing this right now, it's become a very popular medium of media for people to digest. There's
Yeah.
so many different avenues. What was the first podcast that you got addicted to that you just couldn't get enough of?
Oh, I would have to say Dr. Andrew Huberman because he launched during COVID, right? 2020-ish, I would say. So I remember going for long, long walks and just listening to the 2 or 3 hour podcast. So I'd say that. And now it's funny because I had a discussion with a friend. I still buy books. If you were to see my bookshelf this way, you could see that I have many. But I have switched that I do more audiobooks now and also podcasts because I find it's a great way to either go for a walk, you know, while you're doing your workout, while you're cooking dinner, while you're cleaning your house. So it's a really good medium to get the information and not also be sedentary, right? Because if you're reading for hours on end, you're not moving. And God knows right now it's hard for people to get 10,000 steps in. So designing our lifestyle to have more movement, and I think audio is the way to go.
So, at the end of the day, everything that you've accomplished and evolved into in your life, what are you the proudest of?
I'd have to say the practice that I built and foremost for sure, and then the books as well. And the books, you don't really know who's reading them because they order and you don't know. But I always say if I can change or give someone one thing that's going to you know, give them the tools to start their health journey in the right direction, like I really, really can have a huge impact. So even though it's not as a direct input or output, I should say, than having patients in my office, I think, and I see it sometime. Like there's something posted on social media the other day on a Facebook group that I'm part of, and I was pretty humbled by it. Someone local who bought my book, one of my first book, actually my second book, and the question was, which book has been the most influential in your life? And the gentleman answered my book, and I went, wow. And he tagged me in it, and I'm like, wow. And it's like, wow, humbled because the other books were different calibers, right? So you never know what you're going to say and what you're going to do and how it's going to affect the lives of other. And that's a quote for the founder of chiropractic. This is part of our journey as chiropractor to help people on their take control of their health, really.
So let's say you have a dream tonight. You run into a much younger version of you, 18 years old, and you can give that version of you a piece of advice based on this life you've lived, the wisdom you've accumulated over time. What
Oh,
advice would you impart on that version of you?
so younger me at 18, I would just say, go for it. Don't be scared. Just go for it. You'll figure it out because that's what life is all about, right? Like
Yeah.
and the older I get, it's like, yeah, I want to know what I'm doing in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, but you realize that the goal of life is the journey. And again, I know it sounds so darn cliche to say that I'm not as in a hurry now to move forward. So I would say, enjoy the ride, you'll figure it out, and don't be afraid of taking chances, taking risks on the projects that you want to accomplish.
So at the end of the day, everyone out there has a perception of you. Everyone that reads your books, everyone that listens to your podcast is a part of your practice, family, friends, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Oh, I think people would say I'm a overachiever and a bit of a workaholic, but to me, it's not work, right? A lot of what I do is not work. Yeah, and I always, when they talk about the wheel of life and are you balanced and in this area and that area, and I'm like, I call this a bit of BS because everyone is different. So what fills my cup may not be sitting on a beach, in Mexico for a week. It might be creating a new online course. That excites me, right? So I think, we have to figure out what gets us excited. So I'd say people would say, Natalie, do you ever sleep? I sleep very well, but I'm very um conscious of where and how I spend my time. And I try to not waste it because I know it's a commodity.
So if anyone wants to listen to your podcast, get your books, reach out for your services, have any questions, any of the good business, where do they go?
Yeah, well, it's my website, drnataliebeauchamp.com. I know it's hard to spell, so shortcut drnat.life will get you right there. There's free tons of resources. I'm known for giving, tons of tools. I blog weekly. I have a biohacking ebook or playbook that people can download, access to the podcast as well. So again, drnataliebeauchamp.com, but drnat drnat.life is a quicker way to get there.
I love it. Dr. Nathalie, thank you so much. Thank you for your story. Thank you for your time. Best of luck with everything.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.